Okay, so the conclusion is that we are going to reject our null. So with a p-value of 0.013, I will reject the null hypothesis. And I'm going to throw something in that I didn't do in the past, because now that I know what an alpha level is, I'm going to stick it in here just to make sure that I compare my p-value to my alpha level in writing. At alpha equals 0.05. So I'm going to report what I'm using as a standard. 0.013 is smaller than 0.05. That's why I rejected. So this is a linkage between the p-value, alpha, and the decision. So if I reject the null, it means I must believe the alternative. And the alternative is that depressed people are more apt to die than non-depressed people are. So there is evidence that depressed people, depressed patients, are more likely to die than non-depressed patients. And notice that the wording I used there was pretty much identical to the wording in the problem stem, that last sentence of the problem stem. I'm just repeating that language back to make sure I get my context clear. Okay, to follow it up, just to make some connections to some things from chapter 20. Explain in context what your p-value means. So p-value is a conditional probability if the null is really true. So if the death rate is really the same for depressed and non-depressed patients, that's your condition, then the probability of observing a sample as different as this one is 0.013. So very unlikely. And last but not least, if your conclusion was actually incorrect, what type of error did we make? So our conclusion was that we rejected the null. So if we had a wrong decision, that means we rejected a true null. So if we had an incorrect decision, we rejected a true H0. To reject a true H0 is a type 1 error. So we committed a type 1 error if our conclusion was incorrect, which we'll never really know. It may be correct, it may be incorrect. So we might have an error, we might not. We will just not ever know for sure. Okay, that wraps up chapter 21. Homework will be on the calendar and all the answers posted on Schoology.